The wind bit through downtown Chicago, scattering leaves across the plaza as people bustled past bundled in coats. But a small crowd had paused, drawn by the faint strumming of a battered guitar. In the center stood a boy, maybe 12, wearing shoes too small and a jacket too thin. His fingers trembled on the strings, yet his eyes held a quiet resolve. His name was Eli. For weeks, he'd played on this same corner, his music barely louder than the city's noise, hoping for a few coins to help his sick sister back home. Then came the black car, sleek and foreign among the rusted cabs. The driver stepped out first, opening the door for the man inside. Mr. Carrington. Everyone knew the name, wealthy, powerful, cold. His gaze swept the crowd, then landed on Eli with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. He strolled closer, leather shoes clicking on the concrete, drawing attention like gravity. He stopped just feet from Eli, pulled off his sunglasses, and looked him up and down. "Sing for us, kid," he said, voice dripping with mockery. "Let's see if poverty comes with a soundtrack." A few in the crowd laughed, uncomfortably, but they laughed. Eli's fingers froze on the strings. His cheeks flushed, not from the cold, but from the sting of humiliation. Still, he didn't look away. Somewhere deep in him, something stirred, not fear, not shame, but a question: what if I did? What if I sang anyway? Eli stood still, guitar hanging from his shoulder like a weight heavier than usual. The cold didn't bother him now, only the eyes. Dozens of them, staring. Some curious, some pitying. Most waiting for him to fail. His heart pounded in his chest, louder than the city noise. He hadn't asked for this moment. He hadn't wanted to be anyone's spectacle. He just needed enough money for antibiotics. His sister, Lily, was getting worse, and he'd already pawned everything except this guitar. Mr. Carrington folded his arms, clearly enjoying the show. His smug expression said everything: this boy is nobody. Eli closed his eyes, blocking it all out. He remembered the nights in their tiny apartment, Lily curled against him, whispering that his songs made her feel safe, like their mom was still with them. He remembered his mom's voice, soft, steady, strong, singing lullabies that wrapped around them like blankets. He tightened his grip on the neck of the guitar. His breath came out shaky, but his fingers found the first chord, familiar despite the chill. Slowly, he looked up, not at Carrington, not at the crowd, but beyond them. "This one's for someone," he said quietly, "who taught me how to smile, even when the world didn't." No one laughed now. The plaza held its breath. Then Eli strummed the first note. His voice followed, fragile, then fierce. The kind of voice that carries heartache and hope in the same breath. And in that instant, something began to shift. Eli's voice rose into the crisp afternoon air like a bird set free. It wasn't perfect, there were no fancy runs or polished vibrato, but it was real. Raw, trembling with emotion, laced with something the crowd hadn't expected: truth. Each word painted pictures of nights spent hungry, mornings spent hopeful, and the love of a sister who believed in his voice when no one else did. The crowd, once buzzing with laughter and side comments, fell utterly silent. People stopped mid-step. Phones lowered. Even the ever-present city noise seemed to quiet, as though the city itself paused to listen. And Mr. Carrington, he froze. The mocking smirk that had curled on his lips vanished. His eyes widened slightly, then narrowed, not in judgment, but in recognition. The melody, the lyrics, he knew this song. His chest tightened. It was a song his mother had sung to him when he was a boy. Before the money. Before the power. Back when his family lived in a modest house filled with love and music instead of silence and staff. He hadn't heard it in decades. He watched the boy, not as a street kid, not as entertainment, but as something sacred. A living echo of something he'd buried long ago. The guitar. Carrington took a slow step forward, eyes still locked on Eli, his heart pounding in a way he hadn't felt since he was a child. The boy kept singing, unaware of the storm he'd stirred inside the man who once mocked him. When the final note faded into the stillness, there was no applause, just silence thick with emotion. Carrington's voice cracked as he finally spoke. Where did you learn that song?" Eli looked up, startled. He hesitated, then answered softly, "My mom used to sing it before she passed. Said it gave her strength when things were hard, when my dad left." Carrington stumbled back half a step, his breath catching in his throat. That exact line. That same voice, soft, but unshakable. Memories came rushing in. His mother's gentle humming in the kitchen, her arms around him during thunderstorms, the lullaby that made him believe things would be okay. He turned away for a moment, trying to hide the tears forming in his eyes. For years, he had built walls so high nothing could reach him. Not loss, not regret, not love. But in 2 minutes, a boy with nothing had reached a place in him wealth never could. When he turned back, his face had changed. The arrogance was gone. What stood there now wasn't a millionaire, but a man who had just remembered who he used to be. He walked slowly toward Eli and knelt to his level, voice trembling. "What's your name, son?" Eli blinked, unsure how to respond. No one had called him son in a long time, not with warmth. He clutched his guitar tighter, as if afraid it might all disappear. "My name's Eli," he said quietly. Carrington nodded, still kneeling. "Eli, you have a gift. And I think the world needs to hear it." There was no performance in his voice now. No ego, no pride. Just sincerity. He reached into his coat pocket and handed Eli a business card. "I want to help. Not just today. I want to pay for your sister's medical care. And if you'll let me, I'll get you into a real music school. One with proper instruments. Teachers. A future." Eli stared at the card, then at the man, unsure what to believe. But in Carrington's eyes, he didn't see pity. He saw recognition. As if, somehow, this man truly understood. Tears welled in Eli's eyes as he whispered, "Thank you. I just wanted to help my sister." Carrington smiled softly. "You did. And now, maybe you've helped me too." Months later, that same plaza was transformed. A small stage was built where Eli once stood alone. It hosted an annual concert called Voices of the Street, giving underprivileged children a chance to be heard. Eli headlined the first show, with his sister smiling proudly in the front row. And Mr. Carrington? He sat beside her, no longer behind tinted glass, but in the light, listening to the boy who reminded him that humanity is our greatest wealth.